Just want to take a minute to give our sponsor for today's podcast a shout out. OutsideIn. Ross, tell us a bit about them.
Yeah, so anybody who watches the podcast know David's been on this podcast a few times. OutsideIn are a Belfast-based streetwear brand, and they do stuff a wee bit differently. So anything that you purchase from their website, they also donate another item which goes towards someone experiencing homelessness. And luckily enough for all you listeners, we have a wee discount code. What's the discount code, Thomas?
It's HTCOI15. So if you'd like to get something nice like this hat or Ross's nice woolly jumper, you can do so and get 15% off with our code HTCOI15. So yeah.
Let's get into the podcast.
I think it was more like getting the teachers to like me was more of the hack. Like, because I was the magic one and like kind of could do cool stuff.
I'm sorry. Yeah. This sounds so like I'm playing so offensive, but you're like, I just imagine you walking into school and all the teachers and the staff room looking out the window going, there's that wee magic boy.
Here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack. Welcome back, talking shit, I'm drinking wine, like and subscribe. Here's the crack.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast, episode 60?
Yes.
Oh, 60.
That's good.
Yeah.
I could have got that really wrong. I think I have. No, it should be episode 60, 59.
Yeah,
60.
59.
Bish,
Nice.
bash, bosh. We're joined today by Joel.
Hello.
Joel Mooney, is it?
That is my name.
Also known
Yes.
as Joel the Magician.
Well, that's what they call me. Yeah.
That's what the streets call you. That's your street name.
People always ask me, was I going to do a stage name because I'm a magician? And Mooney doesn't really sound good, and it doesn't look good on posters, especially as people can't spell it. So I dropped it to Joel M. And then because I'm Joel Magician on TikTok, it just kind of became either Joel or Joel the Magician. I don't know. I don't really care, to be honest, as long as they spelled J-O-E-L right. That's the main bit. Yeah.
I think the best place to start was we had a wee icebreaker question for you.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So my icebreaker question for you was, you obviously see David Blaine, you see Dynamo, and they're going around on their specials and stuff, and they're performing tricks for like Will Smith and stuff. So if you had three people, celebrities or anybody in a room, who would you love to perform your magic to?
Okay. Magicians or celebrities?
Anybody.
Okay, I feel like I wouldn't pick any magicians because a lot of the ones I would pick would be ones that are far better than me at this time of life. I just would
Be a lot of pressure.
It would be a lot of pressure. I would love to do magic for Robert Downey Jr. Because that would just be cool. I feel like he'd give you a cool reaction. You know what I mean? Ariana Grande because I fancy her.
Nice.
Ooh, who would be the third? Let me think. I suppose. I'm gonna think about that, and then it'll pop into my head halfway through. I actually don't know. I'm not really. Maybe Billie Eilish, only because I have some tricks that I think that then she could use in her live show.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of Billie Eilish?
I don't like her new stuff as much. I was a big fan.
That's what you're going to say. I
When
don't
she
like
was
her.
like kind of like depressed emo mode. That was. But now she's like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
It's not really the vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I haven't really listened to her.
It seems like she's turned 18 now, and it's just now she's.
That's
She
mad,
just seems so much older.
So happy.
Doesn't she?
You would swear she's like coming in her 30s.
That kind of it is.
Sure.
It's
What
like
is that?
when
It's
she was-
Ocean Eyes. She wrote it when she was like 13.
That's fucked.
That is
Going-
mad.
what is going
Can
through
you
her head
imagine?
that she wrote a song about that?
It's
Who was it
it's
she
her
was
fifth
talking
year
about?
now of the video. She's like, I'm Billie Eilish and it's November, whatever.
Oh,
and that's
the-
the fifth year with Vanity Fair.
Yeah, I watched all of them.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's coming out now.
Yeah. No, she is cool. In fairness, but
So we've got Robert Downey Jr. and we've got
Yes.
Ariana Grande, and I'm going to leave a note here because I'm going to come back to you at the end. If
Yeah.
you don't answer my question, I'm going to be really annoyed.
okay. Do you know what? I would probably say Darren Brown because he's my favorite magician, if you can even call him a magician.
Yeah.
Don't know if you've seen his
Yeah,
stuff,
he's brilliant.
but I just think he's the smartest fella, and I think he'll probably go down as the greatest of all time in magic. So it'd be fun to just do something, and even though he would see right through it, if I had a trick that I thought would fool him, I'd love to show him that trick. Not because like, oh, I fooled you, but I think he likes magic so much that he'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
So maybe him.
What's your favourite one of his? What would suppose, as you said,
Like
you don't really call him a
He
magician.
does
he's
like
more
the shows, doesn't
what's
he?
your
Like the
favourite
TV
show?
Psychological thriller stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's best on stage, and I've seen him 7 or 8 times
Have
now,
you?
and every single time it's just been like, whew. This is probably going to be embarrassing because I'd imagine the opportunity to meet him will come up very, very soon.
Yeah.
And I'll be a big fan.
No spoilers there.
But I don't even care. Like some people,
have
it's
a
all right to
poster from
fanboy for.
Craigmore?
And in fairness, out of all them, yeah, plenty. The problem is, most people you say don't meet your heroes and stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone that I know that's met him has said he's just the nicest person. So that's nice. I met Dynamo, in fairness, a few weeks ago,
What was
and
that
he was
like?
a sweetheart as well. So
Yeah.
nice, so cool. And got spotted non-stop. He's still so famous as well. You know,
That's crazy.
Yeah. My favorite thing Darren did is Edison on stage. Yeah.
Anything on stage?
Anything on
I
stage.
watched that one last week. He stole the painting.
Really
gallery.
good. Really
It's
good.
brilliant. It's brilliant the way he does it. Like, because you think like he hasn't done, like he's failed at it because he sent the old people in
That's
to
right.
steal the painting. And then you thought like, oh, they failed, they fucked up, like the whole thing just went to shit. And you thought it was over, and then there was just he just pulls it out of the bag. And
He's phenomenal. He's
Oh,
so
you-
good. You should go back and watch his really early stuff as well when it was like
Yeah.
lower budget, where they had to do a lot with very little money,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
get so creative with it. But it's cool. They did the apocalypse thing.
yeah, I seen that. It was brilliant. too,
Really,
yeah.
really good stuff. He's amazing, and he's out in America now, and Americans are suddenly discovering him and blowing their minds. Like,
Serious?
I mean, because American audiences do typically react a little bit differently to magic, as in
Yeah.
like 10 times more extreme. So they'd be just mind blown.
Yeah.
Would he be the one person, if you could meet anyone, would be him, would it? Or
Yeah, probably this, but him, or there's a guy out in the States, he is not as popular here, called Chris Angel.
Right.
And I grew up being a massive fan of him. He's got a big Vegas show, and I just was so obsessed with him as a kid. I wanted to be him so bad. The photos are mortifying of me trying to be him as a child. With diamond encrusted belt with a big ace of spades. And it's not a good look. Like, it's not good. Sadly, a lot of magicians don't grow out of that phase, and they kind
Yeah.
of stay there into their mid 40s. But yeah, I'd meet him only because I think his career is so impressive. Like, he owns this like $100 million show. It's like, how do you do that? That's
Yeah.
almost, that's more impressive than the tricks. You're like, how do you have that operation
Yeah.
running year round? You know, crazy.
If you could do one trick, like what, like is there a trick where you're like, I want it, like it needs to be worked on for years to pull off?
One thing I wanted to do was to make Harlan and Wolf disappear. That was just
That'd be a
and
task.
I know how I would do it too. I have this whole TV show in my head as to how it would work, but it would cost so much to do the
Yeah.
thing that I thought about, like, oh, here, could I do it myself, and like it'd just be so hard. So that is one thing. I probably would even change how I would do it at the time, but it would be
Which
pretty
one
cool.
would you make?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that actually.
Or both?
Which,
Both
which,
of them.
which,
Both of them,
yeah, why
Go
not?
big.
Why not? I might do. Yeah, sure. Listen, and go hard or go home.
Yeah,
You know, so
we'll throw you a bit towards it. Do the second one. Like if you've got once you've got the money for the first one, come back to us like with
yes,
a couple of quid and
well,
sitting in.
I do plan on actually doing it one day, so I'll not say how to, after the podcast. I'll tell you how I would do it.
If you're
And
like
keep you as a secret.
if you're like £20 short, just give it.
I will.
We've got you.
£20.
That's probably what it will cost. So that's all right.
It's a bit too much.
You each chip a fiver in each. Not right.
But I think we'll get back to the start again. How did you get into magic? Like, where did that come from?
Right, so I tell this story as if I remember it perfectly.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I don't. It's just like bits that I've been told by family and friends
Yeah.
that I've just pieced together into kind of being what I know is the truth, but I don't actually really remember all of it.
Yeah.
So I was 5, I was tiny, and we were on a family holiday to Disneyland.
Okay.
Or is it Disney World? Is in Florida? Which one is it?
Disney World.
World, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Never been.
So we were there. It had such an impact.
why we
on how
have
I
Leisha
remember
here.
it very much. Yeah. So we're in there, and there's a downtown Disney area where there's like different shops and whatever, and there was a magic shop there. So my grandfather, Papa, he's still alive, so it's not a sad story. He was a big fan of Paul Daniels, and he used to watch him on the TV all the time. He was like, a magic shop, great, let's go in there. And none of the other family members cared. They were like, no, we're in Disney, like why would we go into a magic shop? But I was like, right, sign me up. So went in, and was 5 or 6 years old, guy doing magic tricks. And the way it works in those shops is they show you the trick and you're like, whoa, and they're like $20 and you can learn it too, and you're like, okay, and you spend all your money. So I didn't have any money, but Papa did, so he bought me 2 or 3 tricks. I do remember the magic shop itself pretty well, and sadly it's closed down now over COVID, which is kind of sad. Yeah, but I don't know whether it was COVID that actually shut it down, but anyway, it's gone now. It's kind of a shame. So it's gone, but I still have some of those tricks that we got from back then, which is really, really cool. Yeah, and then practice those. I remember the rest of the holiday I just sat with this like deck of cards practicing this thing, and there's like a fake pen to the trick with. Learned how to do the tricks, showed people. Obviously they weren't impressed because they saw me practicing them in the front room, so they're like but I was like, right, okay, well I kind of like this. Bought another magic set by a friend of mine, probably his mum, not him himself, saying he was like 7. But yeah, and that was kind of it. I mean, to be honest, I was so into it from a young age that I remember thinking, what do people do with their free time if they're not doing magic? Like, what are they? I didn't understand. 'Cause I was
just think everyone does magic
I just
then?
figured, like, why people must have so much time in a day, because I just spent hours and hours and hours, like anyone getting into anything does, you know.
Yeah.
But that was my whole world, really, until I suppose like secondary school, and you make friends and got more into other things as well. I did a lot of music in school, so that kind of did both of those things. And then kind of towards the end of school, got back into it heavily, started thinking, I could maybe do this as a job. And I always knew I was going to do it as a job. Actually, that's kind of a lie, because I remember seeing another magician doing it full time when I was 13. I thought, right, well, he's doing the same tricks I'm doing. He's just older and has had more time, so I could probably do it as well. It seems fun. So I always knew I was going to do it for a job.
And we ever like sat in that path where it's like, you know, you go to school, you go like the higher education through uni and stuff? Was that ever a thing for you? Or
kind of. I mean, I was in the annoying friend group in school with like the head boy and all the smart people, because they just happened to go to like the same church to me at the time. And I love all of them. It meant that if you weren't studying, you looked really stupid, so I always did well in school. I wasn't one of these like creative people who like bummed their whole way. Like I could have gone to whatever uni if I wanted to, but I just decided not to. I decided to take a gap year, which I knew was going to turn into another gap year. And I think I'm on my 5th gap year now. So, and I have no intentions of going. But it was definitely, I mean, my mum and dad were very fair. They were of the attitude of, right, listen, we've seen you working at this since you were a kid. Do your A levels, get them, take a year, see what you can do. And as long as you're working hard and you seem to be enjoying it, we'll support you with it. You know what I mean? They didn't get me a handout. Like, I mean, which I think was good, because it put a bit of pressure on me to
the hostel work type of thing.
I couldn't just sit around. Having said that, I remember when I left school, our first day, September came, and all my friends were off to uni, and I was like, what am I meant to do now? Like, I have no idea. That was scary. The first year sucked, in fairness, because you just don't know what to, even if you wanted to work hard, you don't know what to work hard on type thing.
But like, what is like the first sort of jobs you get as a magician? You know what I mean? Like, where do you start?
You have to build your way up quite.
I haven't seen many magicians on Indeed or anything.
No, and that's kind of where your head goes, because people are like, well, how are you going to promote yourself? And you do kind of think of all the typical ways. None of that works really, you know. So I got my first job as a residency magician when I was 12, which was in AMPM, like the Cabaret Supper Club. I love those guys. I always have a special place in my heart, because they brought me in to do magic when there was no reason for them to, really. I mean, I was a good magician, like, technically, but I wasn't a good performer, and I don't know what they were doing. But I mean, they got me for really cheap, and it was the best experience ever, because if you can perform in a cabaret club, you can perform anywhere. Like, it's so ruthless audiences, you know.
What would you have been on stage?
No, I used to go around the tables, so I would go around, interrupt people while they were eating, and be like, can you pick a card? And no one wanted to, obviously, right, because I'm a child, like, and it was quite a fun thing, because I was so young, and they clearly thought, right, here, we'll let this guy do a few tricks. And then it was actually good magic. You got a really good response, you know. Then it kind of changed. I was still doing that when I was like 16, 17, like just on the weekends. It was a great job, because like I was getting like 50 quid on a Saturday or whatever, which was the same that like friends who were stacking shelves were getting for. So it was handy, you know. I will say more emotionally traumatizing work, because you're just getting rejected and proving yourself and over. But you do build a bit of confidence doing that, I think. So I did that for a while, and then there was a phase where I started then doing more stage stuff, found I enjoyed that more, stopped doing as much of the close-up stuff, and by the time I left school, I didn't have a whole lot of work, but I had enough to kind of keep me somewhat occupied. It was a lot of just hanging around with friends, so the first year being like, what am I doing, you know?
And like, growing up in school as the magician, did you make like a lot of like, I was about to say enemies, but I know you're not going to Hogwarts, like, but like Joel riding in the Nimbus 2000. There he is. Really, oh my god!
Like him and another
it's like Severus Snape or something. Like,
you know, the Nemesis,
shooting wands across.
That is basically that is the school I went to. I think it's weird, because I got kind of lucky in that there were no other magicians in my year, which is weird, because there's always, like, these days it is more common for people to get into magic in their teenage years, because you can learn on YouTube and stuff. But I got lucky. There was no one else really in my year. There were a couple in the years below that kind of tried to like compete, but they didn't put the practice in. So I never had anyone to kind of like rival me, which I got quite lucky with.
No magician beef.
No magician beef. No. And then
did you like corner them in the hallway and be like, listen, I hear you're dipping into that black magic
Yeah.
stuff. I suggest you stop it now.
I'm actually using red playing cards. Can you stop using red playing cards? Trying to do a thing here.
Do you know what I did the last magician?
And you know, I was in an all boys school as well, so there was no like trying to impress girls with magic or anything like that. It was just, I did get a lot of practice in because there were a few of my mates that did enjoy watching the tricks.
What, you done it in school, like during the day?
Little bits and pieces,
talent shows?
yeah. I did. I remember my final year, I did finally win the school talent show with the magic. So
Nice.
It was the biggest accomplishment to date. Actually, it was a
Nice.
good time. To be fair, I don't think there was a huge amount of competition, though, but we managed it. Like, I did stuff like that, and then I mean, I think in my head I probably did it more than I actually did. I wasn't like a big weirdo in school. Like a lot of people think magician, I think he's probably really strange, but I think part of why I've maybe had a little bit of success as a magician is I am more of a regular person, so I'm not really strange to deal with, you know, because a lot of the problem with magicians is that they are a little bit socially awkward, and that's why the magic's weird. Whereas in school I just kind of like, if someone asked to do a trick, I'd be like, yeah. I didn't really.
If you want.
I did a lot of drama and music in school, so that took up most of my time.
Did you always have like a pack of cards with you just in case someone was like, here mate?
Yeah, and to be fair, I used to like, if I was in class, I would have practiced with like cards under the table and stuff like that, which probably looked dodgy. But I mean,
did you ever use magic to like cheat on exams or anything?
Yes, I did. I had to actually pull out the old brain notes and write about it because I wrote a chapter in the book about it, and I in my head I was so clever, but the way I did
Is your
like,
book
wasn't
not
that
about how to like teach people? So you're teaching people how to
like,
cheat?
And I had to in the book be like, now lads, don't do this. You know, it was more like the actual exams themselves. I didn't really cheat in like written exams and stuff, because a lot of the subjects I did were like essays where you just basically, it was if you could write fast you did better in the exam. But it was more like controlled assessments and stuff. You were able to just cheat.
Did you tell your friends all these tricks, or was it just
No
you?
no one ever knew. Like, I would have been more
Don't want any upcoming magicians.
I do know I was caught by one of my friends once, but he also was cheating on the test too, just not as cleverly, so I didn't even need to bother. But I used to get like file blocks on like magnets and all sorts of things in them to switch in bits of paper, and then you could, I mean, I could palm stuff in my hands, so I could have notes in my hands and stuff like that if you wanted to. Swap
Just
homework.
move it around.
Like that scene from Now You See Me.
Yeah, exactly.
She comes up and she's like, what have you got in your hand? You're like, nothing.
But I mean, it was, do you know
Turns
what?
into a bird and
It,
flies
little
away.
bits of that, but it was more things like, I think it was more like getting the teachers to like me was more of the hack. Like, because I was the magic one and like kind of could do cool stuff.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This sounds so like I'm being so offensive, but you're like, I just imagine you walking into school and all the teachers in the staff room looking out the window going, there's that wee magic boy. And you just like, what did he do last week? He turned my car key into a pumpkin.
Also, it was a bit like that, because I used to do this thing when I was in school where and I don't do it anymore because people used to get annoyed, is I used to tell people their bank pin numbers. That was like the trick.
Seriously?
Yeah, that was the trick. I used to do it all the time, and I used to do it on teachers, and like that was.
And
so
did
that
you
was
always
kinda
get
dumb.
it?
Yeah, so
I want to ask, can you do it? And then I was
Right
like,
now.
yeah, I don't do it anymore as much because people do get annoyed at it, and also apparently it's actually pretty bad to do that security wise. You can get in trouble. So I do other
you can
things
do it
like
right
that
now if you
though.
want.
do it. You can do it.
Could you guess his phone password?
That's the other one I used to do all the time. Is the
Oh,
phone
well, I can't do
password.
that. It's recording.
Do if you do.
I'll tell you. I'll show you something exactly like that in a second. I'll do that in a minute. Yeah.
No, mate. I don't
We
know.
can just
And I'll
beep
tell you
out
how you
the
do it
number.
as well. I'll tell you how you do it.
Seriously?
Yeah. So
Here.
it's
The bank account will be fine.
I just get in trouble. Yeah, I know. Some people's not even worth doing.
I just gotta look
anyway, but like the right
Before
person
I
is
later
so
on, I
clean.
gotta look around. Thomas is gonna be like trying to read someone's mind. He's gonna be like 6334. I'm like 6334. Santander.
So what we used to do is there was a guy who he wanted to be this magician in school really bad, but he wouldn't never put the practice in, but he was kind of annoying and he wanted to do the mind reading thing and was convinced he could do it.
Yeah.
So what we did was we just were like, right, listen, if he ever takes a guess at something, just tell him he's getting it right, and this boy will be convinced that he's psychic. Like, so we did. We kept this up for a long time. He'd be going around guessing people's phone codes, and we'd be like, oh, how did you know that? And this lad went away for years thinking he could just read minds. It was brilliant. Kind of a bit cruel, to be honest. But it was. It was.
So, like,
Trying to
whole
get rid of the
school was in on this?
competition.
I know. Oh yeah. It's like,
Even the
The whole
te-
school was in on this then.
there's a good few of us, like, but
even the teachers
yeah.
were like, how did you do that?
Yeah. Well, there was one teacher who I remember, and I loved him, and he was my history teacher, and I do remember telling him that I wasn't going to go to university because I wanted to do this magic thing, and he was
Yeah.
like, Joe, but you're doing your A levels are good. What are you talking about? And then I did this trick on him, and that changed his mind.
Yeah.
He was like, right, okay, yeah, go. And he was always very supportive after that, which is kind of weird that one little tiny thing like that can sway his opinion. But
Do you like walk into a room and start like do you like? Is there an element of psychology or something with that, where you're like trying to like suss people out? Like, would you walk out of a room and be like,
not
"See them
really.
3 boys in there. I know exactly what their bank codes are
No,
and how much is in their bank."
It's funny how people approach it or see it different ways. Because if you believe in psychics and that sort of thing, which I personally don't, and I know I'm not a psychic, it's trickery, that type of thing.
Sounds like something a psychic would say.
Yeah, that's true. Give away my secrets. If I was a psychic, I wouldn't tell people I was. I would just be a magician, and my job would be really easy. You know.
Yeah.
But people think that I'm just constantly like analysing, and like a little bit, but not really. Like for me, it's all about. It's about fun. It's having the crack. You know, it is just meant to be lighthearted and fun. You know, and I did take a bit of a jump away from the mentalism stuff, more towards the magic stuff, especially with social media, because it's hard to, I suppose, communicate that through video.
Like
You know what I mean?
audience
It's tricky unless you
stuff,
have
yeah.
long form. Like Darren is a perfect example of someone who does it well, but in a 30-second TikTok, that's hard to do. So, and there's yet to be like a mentalist who's to do really, really well online yet. There will be one. I don't know who it's going to be, but someone will do it. They'll figure out the way of making that work. I'm not analysing, just don't worry, it's all good. I have a friend who used to kind of use magic for cheats. He used to steal watches all the time, and that I never did.
Should have been in there 2 hours.
I did have a nosy. Should have done it when Nico was here.
He should have been in 2 hours ago. He had a flipping £65,000 watch.
Yeah.
Well, see, this is the thing. So this guy, he was at this big event, and this guy's watch was this really rare Rolex, and dropped it and smashed the face off it. And after that, I was like, I'm never ever stealing a watch, because even just for entertainment. Plus, can you imagine if you had a 65-gram watch in your hand? No matter your morals, you would kind of think, oh.
Yeah.
Part of you would just think, maybe.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Oh.
Switch it with a fake.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah. So I've never done that. It is hard to do as well. Like,
What, like, could you do things like that, like pickpocketing and stuff?
I'm not amazing at it, to be honest.
No.
It's one thing I've never really learned. Little bits and bobs. Like, I'd be better at it probably than like the normal person. But
Like,
I hope the camera got that, because I naturally looked around to see if my wallet was there. I was like,
that would be the one thing, is I would do wallets, in fairness, because they're very easy to steal. But like, it's
is it hard? Like,
but even
like,
then, I
how do you
always
even
felt-
practice that? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Thomas
is that you
Dickens.
do. That is the thing, is you do just kind of have to do it, and like you do sometimes get people like, "What are you doing? Okay, if you're a magician, like, just give me my." The one I used to hate is people who do a lot of magic, like steal people's phones and stuff. And that for me, I'm like, if someone nicked my phone, I'd be so raging. So I'm not gonna do that to someone else type thing. I'll do a magic trick with the phone, like, but I'm not gonna.
It's like them TikToks and people going like smash someone's phone. They're like, but I got you a new one, and you're still like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It's
I
on
know.
that, like-
Like,
I don't have mine backed up to iCloud.
And not that there could be any sentimental value with that phone around like that. Oh my god, yeah, those are.
Especially when you
There's
know-
such an art to that, like pickpocketing, because I got pickpocketed in Barcelona.
I believe
When
you.
went.
Yeah, they're really good, mate.
No, I had no clue.
See,
I was
the
on the
best
other side of the
pickpocketer
road
in the world
before.
aren't magicians. The best.
It wasn't a
pickpocketers are the ones
magician
you never
either.
see.
He actually got pickpocketed.
Yeah, I did get pickpocketed. Like, it was gone.
I got pickpocketed by the magic
like,
man.
and
Joe's just like, yeah, the magicians
so
over there are really good.
we're
Shake
actually
hands.
They're actually in a league of their own out there.
I was waiting for Darren Brown to jump out, and he's like, "Not you fucker."
Yeah, you're part of his next TV show. Oh no, do you know what? If you want to see someone who's amazing at it, there's a guy called Apollo Robbins, and I feel like this entire interview is me just basically telling you how good other magicians are. You know what I mean? But he's phenomenal, where he'll get a guy on stage and be like, right, your belt, your glasses, your vest, your socks, for all I care, I'm going to steal all of those in the next 5 minutes, and you're not going to catch me. And it's
tells
just
them
you and me.
before.
And he'll do it. He'll take their belt or glasses off their head. It's madness. Absolute madness.
Seriously?
And when you're watching it, you're like, this is, you can see how they're not spotting it, but it's
How
an
did-
art
Art form.
So,
It is an
yeah,
art.
yeah.
Like I've watched. I used to be so interested in the whole, like, after what I think it was that film Focus.
Focus, yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be
That's
so interested
That's
in
not
it.
the Will Smith one, is it? Or am I
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
of a different
it
one?
is.
Yeah,
Swap
yeah,
it
yeah.
up.
I remember
Yeah,
watching that.
right.
It's a good one now.
But like, you're doing the waterfront.
Ulster Hall. Yeah.
Why did I say the
No,
waterfront?
because I keep telling people that because it's Waterfront Ulster Hall. People keep saying them as
It's
they're
like
the
the
same
same
company.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm doing Ulster Hall. Waterfront's where I want to do next, because it's where I first saw Darren perform when I was 12, and I was like, oh, I'd love to do that one day. So start with Ulster Hall, and then see we take it from there. I can't wait for that now. That's going to be
Is
fun.
it sold out, is it? Yeah.
Not
No.
just yet, no. Well, funny. So I thought it was pretty much sold out, but
Yeah.
apparently this is like real business chat. But apparently, Ticketmaster bought a bunch of the tickets. So on the Ulster Hall website, it'll look like it's pretty much sold out, but you can actually go to Ticketmaster and get it.
Yeah.
So I only did promote it once, thinking, oh, I don't need to promote it again, sold, but actually I need to do a wee push now. So for anyone that is watching,
Yeah.
if you do want to come, there are still tickets depending when this comes out. It's the 18th of December. You guys, if you're free,
We should
Come
should
along.
have that on. We should have this podcast out by the 18th of December.
love it. Well, sure.
Oh.
If
I
not,
think it's
then
coming out that way.
if not,
It's coming out on the 16th.
next year. Perfect.
2 days.
Well, who knows? They'll probably be sold out by then. But if not, come
Get
along,
your
bring a friend.
tickets. Yes, sir.
It is going to be good, like, and I'm looking forward. I mean, I am biased in fairness, but like, it's been, suppose, 2.5 years since I've got to do an actual
Would that
big
be,
stage
like-
show, so it's exciting.
Is this like the biggest one you've done, or have you done bigger? Or
I've performed for more people, but I've never had like a theatre. There are people there just for me.
Like
for that amount.
headlining, yeah,
headlining,
that's
exactly.
mad.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good fun, man.
Yeah,
I'm
sick.
excited for it, especially in Belfast. Like, it's gonna be so handy.
Yeah.
Do you get stage fright, or does this type
Nah.
of stuff not phase you anymore?
And it's not like, oh, I have no fears. Like, I'll get a wee like adrenaline rush, but I think it's actually one thing I like so much that I'm more excited than I get nervous about loads of other things, but not really stage fright, which is, I suppose, is weird because most people do, but like I do like it.
How much preparation goes into that? Like a show that you're doing? Like,
Oh,
do you need to be there for like
yeah.
days before? Like,
Well, I'm kind of lucky
Baby
in that
trapping
the
the place,
actual setup is really quite simple for
Yeah.
my level of kind of show, especially as it's basically audience interactive, and most of the fun of the show comes from other people, not the props and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that works particularly well in Northern Ireland, where you just don't know what characters are meet. Like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
just that is the best part of
Yeah.
the show.
Is
like,
that sort of risky as well, though? Like, 'cause you don't really know who you're gonna get, type of thing.
And that's why I think if there's ever an element of stage fright, that's more it. It's more like what clown is going to come up tonight and try and, you know, but that is what makes it fun. And that's,
Yeah.
if it was so scripted and the same thing every night, it'd get so boring, you know.
Aye. And
Aye.
do you ever have tricks go wrong or anything on stage or anything? Or, yeah.
Yeah, and if they don't, then you're not doing enough gigs. That's my
Yeah.
the way I like to look at it. Like, stuff's
Fair.
always going to go wrong. The good thing with magic is you can usually save it because people don't know where it's going. So I mean,
oh, they're still waiting for the
they're
thing
still
to happen.
And then so long as you get the next trick right, they'll forget about the one before.
Yeah.
Would you have a trick that you're most proud of?
I do, yeah, I do. I don't know if it's going to be in the Ulster Hall show, so it doesn't matter. Even if it is, hopefully you just don't figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's a trick. I came up with this idea, friend of mine, maybe 4 years ago. But what we wanted to do was have someone in the audience stand up, me not go near them, take off their wedding ring and hold it, put it in a ring box. I would never touch it, put it in a ring box, and then basically have it appear.
I was like,
On
how
stage.
did you get that already?
I say, I'm telling you, just
Didn't realise
head-
you came off. I thought
So-
I went and got a ring.
Smooth operator, mate. No, so they would take the ring and they'd hold it like in a ring box like this, and then I'd snap and it would disappear from the hand like that, and it would reappear. Did that blow your mind?
Did you not see that?
See, that's good.
No, I didn't see that.
It
I'm just
disappeared.
starting-
What?
no,
Say it again.
It just disappeared.
Oh, no, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. That was it's not a good.
Shay,
not a
you're
good-
seeing
not a
things,
good-
man.
It's freaking out.
I
He
missed
was in
it.
his hand and then
He's like, what? Am I tripping out here? What is going on?
Flashback to Barcelona.
PTSD.
Check your wallet. No,
Imagine at the end of this, he's like, he's had this trick up his sleeve for like 7 years. And he's like, check your pocket. He brings out the phone. I was the guy.
Do you know,
Plot
I
twist.
often think about that. Like, what if I planted a trick now? So, like, in 10 years, it could be something amazing. Do you ever see that movie Now You See Me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, when you mentioned it there, where they like grow a card inside a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do something like that.
What's the process like when you're thinking of a trick? Like, how do you?
Well, so actually, that ring trick's a good example. So the idea was to get the ring to vanish from their hands and appear on stage, wrapped around the string of a grand piano, and for it then to be labelled with their partner's name saying "Loving Us." So that was the trick. So what you do is you come up with what you want the trick to be. You don't think about is it possible. You just think, in a perfect world, what would this look
Yeah.
like? And then you backtrack. So you don't do it. You don't come up with the method and then assign a trick. You come up with the trick and then you figure out the method, type of thing. Sometimes you stumble across something and you're like, oh, that's a kind of cool thing about an object. Could use that for a trick. But most of the time you come up with the drama behind it and the message, or what you want them to feel when they watch the trick, and then you kind of reverse engineer it, and you have a bunch of things in your toolbox to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because in magic, like there's that's what's so interesting about magic, is sadly the stuff you can't talk about. Is
Yeah.
there's just the methods and the crazy things you have
Is-
open to you are amazing.
Was that? Is that? I don't even know the name of it. It's like that magician's like not a cult, but like
Magic Circle.
Is that real?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it?
it is.
I thought that was like some sort of thing you hear in movies.
No, that's real. It's I went as a kid because you have the Young Magicians Club and then you have the Magic Circle. So
Yeah.
one of my Christmas presents when I was a kid was to go over to the Young Magicians Club and meet everyone. It's funny because now growing up, I'm friends with a lot of these people who I didn't see for like a 12-year gap in between that would have been at the Young Magicians
What's
Club with
this?
me.
A magic?
Magician- have you
Magic
never heard of
Circle.
that?
No,
I've never heard
it's
of
like the biggest. Well, it's not the biggest, but it's one of the it's probably the most well-known.
Is it
magic
like a
club in the world.
global thing, or is it just over?
You've got
UK?
different ones in different places. So there's Ulster Society Magicians here, which I know a
Right.
bunch of the guys from there. Lovely people. There's Magic Circle. I'm not a member of any of them, only not because I don't like them, and I don't really have time to go to the meetings
Yeah.
usually, so
Yeah.
I don't. But
And these are all like legitimized through
pretty much. Well, no, they're all separate. They're all separate. The Magic Circles just happens to be another one. They're just magic clubs, basically.
Yeah.
The same way you have a sailing club or a golf club, you have magic clubs. It sounds cool, like it's going to be like really eerie and whatever, and they are amazing crack, but at the end of the day it is just usually primarily a bunch of like fellas just playing with a deck of cards in a pub. Like, that is what it is, which is brilliant crack, let me say. But it's not as eerie and mysterious. Having said that, I don't know how much, I'm not a member, so it doesn't matter, but Magic Circle headquarters are awesome. They're very cool. Very, very cool.
I think I had this idea in my head where you go down like a dark alleyway and enter through like a bin or something.
People
Not
learn, like,
quite, but there is a little bit of that like big kind of cool spiral staircase and stuff. It's sick. Yeah, it is good.
Everyone wearing like black robes around the fire and all.
I'm sure that
Like
exists somewhere.
Someone
Not
just
the one I
floats
was
through
on.
the door.
It is sick though, because they have like a bunch of old Magic memorabilia, like Tommy Cooper's fez and like Houdini's handcuffs and stuff. Yeah, it's sick. It's really, really cool.
And see, with regards to the whole, like, obviously TikTok was a big thing for you, where you just kind of like blew up with these sort of short form, and it was very good the way you kind of, as soon as you were scrolling down, one thing I always said about your videos was the sort of stop what you're doing now, and it's like, whoa, what's this guy want? And then you're like, look at this card that he, like,
Ross will be coming across these videos now like, whoa, stop what you want, and then Ross will be checking his fucking pocket. Did he steal it?
But like, how did that, like, did that just, were you just sitting and one day just thought, like, let's do it, this is how I'm going to promote myself?
You know
now?
what it is? The stuff I'm doing now, I actually, for the first time ever in my career, I actually like. I pretty much hate every single thing I put out up until about 6 months ago, when I kind of changed the style I was doing. Now I focus more on actually just putting out something I would like to make. So a lot of it was kind of stop what you're doing, watch this trick, which I personally don't like. However, it was what worked to get attention, to build the initial following. Like, there was just no disputing that it was working. So how did I come across it? I mean, I suppose I posted little bits and pieces now and again of me just doing tricks, and people did seem to like it. There seemed to be a room on TikTok, especially for like a slightly younger kind of magician, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. But I never took it seriously, because in my head I wanted to do TV and that sort of thing. It was only when lockdown really hit that I was coming up on, well, I suppose like maybe 500,000 on there or whatever, which at the time, like, I'm not saying that's a small number at all, but I mean, there were other magicians that had more for sure, and I thought, right, well, I'm sitting here in the house and there's nothing else to do, so I'll do a few more videos. And I kind of was stuck, because I was like, right, well, all my other videos have been either like with my brother, who I wasn't living with and couldn't meet because of COVID, or so I just started doing these videos one man by myself, and they did better than the ones before, because people seem to like the tricks or the personality or whatever, and I really like making them, so kept at them, and sure, I had nothing else to do for 2 years. I mean, luckily, like, brand work and stuff kept me going or whatever, but it's now it's kind of grown to a point where there are people watching, so it's extra fun to make them, because you know at least that there are people that are going to enjoy them when you put them out.
And did like TikTok, do you think, help with like the likes of getting the Sky TV show and stuff?
Oh,
like,
definitely, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Do people like the likes of Sky, when they come to you, they'll be like, oh, we've seen you off TikTok?
Yeah, most of the work comes from there now. Yeah,
seriously, that's class.
100%. Like my book deal came off the back of TikTok, like most of it, because I mean, it is mad. I said the best time to blow up on social media was during lockdown, because it didn't go to your head, because you're just sitting in your house with your family and same people, so like it just feels like a game, not like whereas if you were out and about, you could let like 20k go to your head and you think you're a big celebrity, which is silly. It's still like on the pecking order, you're a TikToker, you know, like, get over yourself, you know what I mean? It's like, you have a word. So, and even then, a magician, like in the entertainment industry, that's still low in the pecking order. So I like to think of it all as just a wee bit of fun, you know what I mean?
Are you finding it surreal yet? Have you had a pinch me moment?
Not well. So I mean, I'm very grateful, because like I get to do it full time. Certainly, I'm like more comfortable now than I was before. Like, worried about like where the next gig and stuff was coming from. Like, in that sense, yeah. But to be honest, like, nothing's really changed that much for me. Like, I moved to Belfast, but I was probably going to do that anyway. Yeah. And I have the same friends. Everyone's kind of still the same. I film with the same person that I filmed before I had followers. So, like, and I think it's better that way, to be honest. I suppose getting spotted in the streets and stuff that's the biggest change.
Do you get recognised a lot now, or
just disappear?
Yeah. I wish. No, do you know what?
You must hate these jokes.
So, like, do you know what's funny? It depends where you are. Like, Belfast, everyone is so nice, to be fair. And it depends what part of Belfast, in fairness, because like, I'll tell you what, it depends what time of day and whatever. If I'm just going through Belfast, I stick out, like, I'm not in any way acting like, oh, I'm so popular, I'm so famous, because I'm not. But you know what, like, 2 billion people have seen me in my brother's videos. Like, you are just gonna get spotted, whether they spot you because they like your stuff or whether they just want to say they met you. It doesn't matter. They do spot you. But for the most part, everyone's really, really nice. You do get some like you don't really want to be in KFC at like 2 a.m. where like there's loads of kids there. That's a bad spot to be. You know what I mean?
Make my chicken disappear.
Yeah, for the most part, like I'm not really out anywhere where you'd get swamped.
Yeah.
And even then, like it's fine.
Do you go
like,
out
it's
much,
nice.
like on nights out running?
No,
No.
I don't know.
Would you be put off?
I'm really boring. Like honestly, like, I honestly, it's like, my friends will attest to this. It's not like a show. I'm like the most boring person you'll meet because I love magic so much and I love making videos so much. I don't really want to do much else, and I love my friends and family, so I don't really go out. I don't drink. Don't do any of stuff. And it's not because I'm like so great. It's like I actually just like working, and I like coffee shops.
Yeah, you're
reading
focused
and
on
stuff.
what you're doing now. And it's,
And that's not to say that I won't in the future, by the way. Like I 100% probably will, but like I suppose as well, like it's been lockdowns, I haven't been able to anyway. Even if
Nobody's really been.
but, I was never really a party animal anyway. I just kind of liked working, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
More fun to me.
Would you ever want to like eventually do your own TV show like the likes of like Dynamo and people like that, and do like
a special?
Sort
Yeah,
of,
well, we did one a couple of years ago, and it went out during lockdown called Life is Magic. That was BBC's. That was my first thing.
Right.
We filmed that before. It was a 3-part special, and it was just me, and that was amazing. It was so much fun. So I'd like to do another season of that, and then. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know because like you just never know what's coming around the corner. Like I could say I'd love to do this, and then when the opportunity comes, just maybe not be feeling it or whatever. But like at the minute, I do think I'd like to start doing a bit more long form stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. Now that we've been growing that, and hopefully there's an audience there, so maybe that, and then do more on stage still more than anything else once we get out doing live shows.
Do you think like it'll be like more people like say your age doing magic and stuff will be going over to YouTube and stuff because you have more like sort of control yourself, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. The problem is, I think, and this is something that me and like magician friends would talk about a lot, the biggest problem at the minute is it's there's quite a low barrier to entry to filming a magic trick and posting it and building an audience. The problem is now that like, and this is not talking about anyone in particular at all, and there's people that are the opposite of this, but there are like the majority now of social media magicians can't perform live at all, and that is a problem because someone will see them online, book them for a show, and realize that actually, this person actually can't do
what's
what they're
in front of the
like
crowd.
Jeremy Lynch and stuff would do a lot of like these. The footballer guy, he would do a lot of these like, watch how I do this, and it's just camera trickery. Like he's not.
This is the
You know,
problem.
if someone hired Jeremy Lynch to come on and do a live show, it'd be like, right, mate.
If you keep you up,
That's kind of the problem, like, isn't it? So I mean, I think not that there's going to be many magicians watching, it's quite a small bunch, but my advice always is to do an absolute shitload of live shows first, then get into the social media stuff. So at least then when you do the social media stuff, when you eventually do get hired, you'll have an amazing show already, and you should be better live than you're on camera, is what I always think.
Yeah,
because it'd be really, really suck if someone met you and was like, that TikTok magician's amazing, but the tricks in real life are a bit bleh. You know, that wouldn't be great.
Fair.
Yeah.
And you said you like reading. Is that why the book came about? Like, what was the process and how long? Because you always hear people. It was that last podcast I was listening to was a bit of a different genre, but it was Impulsive with Dan Bilzerian. He wrote a book. And
what's it called?
No clue. But it took him years. Like
the setup, is that what it's maybe called? Something like, I'm ready. Yeah.
How long did it take you to sort of come around this concept and write it?
I got lucky in that the publishers approached me and were like, listen, we think this would be the perfect thing for your demographic, blah blah blah. It was HarperCollins, who were just amazing to work with, but they were like, right, we want it out for Christmas. I'm like, this Christmas? Like, what do you mean? I haven't written anything. They're like, yes, this Christmas. This is March this year when they came at me with it.
9 months on.
Yeah, but the thing is, it had to be like in the like it came out in November, and it had
So
to be
you'd
to
less.
print by August, so March, April, May, June. Not a long time to write it, so I kind of approached it in quite like a robotic way, which was to set aside 1 hour every single day and not let myself work more than that or less than that, and just bit by bit slowly wrote it. I knew the stories, like it wasn't like I was writing a fiction novel, so I just had to recount basically what was in my head already. There was the discipline of doing it each day, and I loved doing it. It was good fun, like, and in fairness, I had very little to do with I wrote the entire thing. I didn't have a ghostwriter and like that, but the actual design and all that had nothing to do with me. I was like, I don't understand that world, so run with it. And
mentally, was it difficult to try and get into that world and make sure you had your own voice when you were writing it? Like, were you detached from it, or did you try and stay really in it?
A little bit. I was like, I had a guy who was working with me called Chas, who was an editor, and he put me at ease, because obviously when you're writing something for the first time, you do kind of think, is this awful? Is this really, really bad? But he was always giving me a confidence boost and let me know that it was good as I went, but giving me direction as well. So I mean, a little bit weird. It is strange because you never think that one day someone's going to turn around and be like, right, you're an author now. You're like,
Yeah.
what? But to be fair, my favourite subjects in school were always kind of language-based writing ones. So I knew I could write, and I knew I could write as well because I write my stage shows and I speak those. So you know what I mean? It wasn't like I was going to be stuck in my head too much. There were moments, so like you're writing it and you're like, would I just say that, or am I just trying to sound smart on the page? You know, that was the trickiest one, was trying to make it sound like your own, and then remembering that primarily it'll be younger people reading it. So the books I read probably aren't the same books that these people are going to read. So there was little bits, but the people at HarperCollins kept me writing. I enjoyed it. Like, it was good fun. You felt like you were actually doing work as well. Like, usually when I'm filming magic videos and stuff, you're like, how is this my job? Like, this is way too fun. But when you're sitting down writing the book, you're like, right, okay, I have a laptop now, so I'm actually working. You know what I mean? Yeah, definitely.
You know, a typewriter, like authentic. That would be so jazzy.
That would be.
If you make a mistake,
I don't think I'm classy enough for that. I think I'm.
I think do it for your next book.
I will.
Sales will go up 100%.
I believe it.
But to go from like obviously TikTok, this I want to say the small screen, to then obviously doing like the Sky Show, and then you're obviously on Good Morning Britain the other morning. Is it Good Morning Britain or is it
Good Morning Britain?
Yeah.
I've never seen the show, to be honest, because I don't really watch TV, but they were so nice.
Watch that every morning. GMTV used to be GMTV, wasn't it?
Is that what it was?
I feel like
before. Yeah.
I feel like we should manifest this now. Where you would be really good on would be with Phil and Holly.
So
and
funny
Gino.
enough, it was between Good Morning Britain and This Morning, and I only got to do one of them, and the publishers chose Good Morning Britain because apparently that does better on book sales. But I was like, no, because I actually have seen so much of This Morning. But obviously Good Morning Britain were amazing.
I
as well.
think
They were so
doing
nice.
a magic trick with Gino or something would be so
So
I'm not saying
good.
I'm not saying Kate Garraway is no crack. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, you know,
It's Kate Garraway, the one who does Good Morning Britain.
Yeah. So I
I should probably know that,
didn't,
should I?
I didn't know them when I went on, so they had to brief me before, like their names and stuff. But they were so nice, and the entire team there.
What's that like? Is that not so surreal? Like actually going and being on something like that you're so used to seeing?
Yeah,
and
because
stuff?
it's live as well. That is scary when you're a magician, because you don't know, like you don't get a rehearsal either, so you don't know where the cameras are or like when they're gonna. And you like it's real life, so the presenters could be like, "Here, could I check that prop there?" And you're like, you don't really want that. So there is risk to it, but also like, what's the worst that can happen? You know, trick goes wrong.
I seen the trick.
If
It was
anything,
cool.
it'll make it go more viral. You know what I mean?
It was very, very cool.
Thank you.
It was very, very like. I think you done that. From what I can recollect from it, you done like a wee bit, and then you big reveal at the end.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of like, when you done the first bit, I was like, and then when you done the second bit, I was like, wow, that was cool.
That's the way I like to do it. Is you kind of, and this way, now if you ever see my live show, you'll know what I'm doing now. But I like to kind of build it, and then kind of reveal should be a little bit anticlimactic, if anything, a bit of a letdown. So then when you go in with the real punch, the effect's bigger. You know, rather than just going in, boom, boom, punch them. It's better if you kind of let them down a wee bit first, and then there's a bit more of an emotional hook there.
Did they know what you were going to do before? Did you tell them?
No. Well, the presenters didn't. The team in Good Morning Britain did, but they didn't know. No, which is good, because otherwise they would have had to fake a reaction, and that is hard to do for like a magic trick. I mean, I'm sure they would have done an amazing job on it, of course, because they're professional presenters. But I didn't want them to know. Because you want them to actually be genuinely fooled, because you can see on someone's face when they're genuinely fooled by a trick. It's a very different thing, and you'll get nice proper reactions and quotes and all that stuff out of them. It was more fun that way.
So what can people expect from your show in the Ulster Hall?
Well, I will be there. That's my promise. And do you know, it's funny because there's a different expectation now. Is before, when I was doing shows, people, they would have heard of me and heard like, oh, he's the magician, it's good to go see him. They didn't really have anything to watch. Now they have like the TV shows and they have the stuff to watch. So there are expectations as the sort of stuff I should do. Which is weird because I've never had that before. And it's the first time I'm a little bit anxious, like, oh, this kind of has to live up to people's like fast-paced adrenaline, so which is scary, but also like I know it'll be fine. So they can expect probably nothing that I've seen on social media. Like it'll all be stuff they haven't, because if I just did the same stuff online that I'm doing on stage, then just watch the TikTok. You don't need to buy the ticket. You know what I mean? So spam you. I'm very sorry. It's actually part of a trick for later.
That's what I'm looking at. I'm like,
it changed colour.
You're said
you'll have COVID at the end of the show.
That is actually what I was doing.
Shit.
You touched something on him there, and I was like, whenever you're talking there, I was gonna go check your sleeve. That guy slipped something in there. You just don't know.
No, you keep me honest now, please do. Someone has to.
I every day you keep looking at me, and I'm like staring at you. I'm like, what's he up to? I'm not
Ross is
joking.
up to
I'm
no
so
good.
paranoid now.
Ross is so paranoid. Like,
I don't
yeah.
know why. I don't know why.
He'd be waiting.
You
You'd
should be, you
have
should be.
left and he'd be looking
But-
around this place for you. Make
For
sure you've
one
left.
missing thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do what
freaking
Darren
out.
did with the baiting thing, but with like your cameras.
We'll come in here next week to film and the cameras will just be gone.
And my videos look suspiciously like way better over the next couple of weeks.
I don't know why. I think it's one of them things where do you ever, like, you probably come across people like this all the time. It's like I can't watch something and not be able to, like, I want to break it down in my head. I used to love the Penn and Teller.
Love it. Yeah,
The
the
one
that
with
show.
it, yeah.
So people tell me that, and they say it as if I'll be offended by it because, like, you're a magician, you probably hate people like that. But that's the person I am, and that's the reason I got so fascinated by magic. Is if I watch a magic trick, I'm like, I will not sleep for a week until I figure that out. You know that. So I'm the exact same dude, and that's why I love magic. It's not, well, there's a lot of other reasons too, but the main one is I just find the methods so interesting, and it's so interesting how if you just withhold one piece of info from someone, that can actually make somebody believe something is supernatural. That to me is just crazy. The fact that, like, you literally could just have a little object secretly hidden in your hand, and that is enough to convince someone that you are actually like Santa Claus, and that's really cool. So I remember there's nights I would see a trick and not know how it's done. I'd sit up watching it back frame by frame to figure out, not because like I wanted to like burn the magician, but I'm like, well, what can I learn from that, you know what I mean? And that's the real fun, and it's why magicians get on so well, for the most part, is because you have this thing that you're so interested in your whole life that you can't talk about with anyone because you can't reveal the secrets. So suddenly when you meet someone who also understands the crack, you just have this big dirty secret in common. And it's that's why we've got to stick together. No one else wants to be mates with us.
You're just a club.
Yeah.
That's what you said there earlier on. It was like my magic friends, and I was just like, I don't want to like. It sounds like I'm being patronizingly offensive, but at the same time, I'm just like, I cannot get, because I did not grow up like with the knowledge that this was like. I always thought it was just like a character on TV, and now you're just like, yeah, me and my magic friends meet up and stuff, and I'm like, magician friends, and you're just like,
what, though, I didn't meet another magician except for the one in that shop when I was a kid until I was like 13 years old. I thought I was the only one in Northern Ireland. I hadn't a clue. So when I met this other one, I was like, oh, there's more of us. And even then, it was still like there's like a 20-year age gap between us as well. Like, so it was just not the same. And then gradually I've got to know more and more. A lot of my best friends are magicians now, but to be fair, like, probably the thing we talk the least about is magic. For the most part, because it's most of them, if they're magician friends, that's our whole day, and the last thing we want to do is sit and talk about card magic, you know what I mean? We'll just have the crack. But it is fun because, you know, you do have so much in common, and usually magicians do have a lot in common, just their personality type anyway. So I mean, we all link pretty well. There's a lot of ego in the magic world at the same time as well, because you've got like, I found this secret before you did, and I have this variation of this card move, and it's like, oh my god, like they are just magic tricks.
Do you
like,
have like with your friends, if they're magicians, that like if they learn a trick, you're like not allowed to do it? Do you know what I mean?
There is a bit of that, yeah.
Is there?
Well, sort of. I mean, not really in Northern. There's not a whole lot of magicians here, to be honest, and all the ones that are, I love. They're all great. There's not one person here that I won't bad word to say about. They're all fantastic. But we used to do this night in Belfast called Midweek Magic, and is where I used to practice a lot of my new material. Was in the Black Box in town, and be 4 magicians on one night, £4 in, 4 hours, 4 magicians go around the tables. 1 or 2 of us would do a stage slot. So we did actually have to, before every show, be like, right, listen, so what are you doing and what are you doing? Because the last thing some spectator wants is to have to see the same trick 4 times in a row from just 4 different magicians.
Was there ever times where like you're doing that, he's doing that trick, but you were gonna do it, and you're like, oh fuck, what
yes,
do I do?
all the time, all the time. I usually got lucky because towards the end I would stop doing the close-up stuff and I would just do the stage stuff. So, and I knew that I would be doing different stuff than because I usually come up with my own tricks for stage, so that was all okay. That's the other thing, is if you just come up with your own stuff, then not that all my stuff's original, it's not what I'm saying. I stand on the shoulders of giants in the magic world, like, but I on stage, you try and make it your own, and then you're safe. You don't have to worry about anything.
So do you do it a lot in your free time, like playing tricks on your friends and stuff?
Not really. Well, that's a bit of a lie, really. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, as I say, a lot of my friends are magicians, so like if we're doing tricks, it's more like, oh, look at this thing I came up with, the method. But then my closest friends, like, they've seen me for years and years doing this, so a lot of them know how a lot of the tricks are done anyway, you know what I mean?
Well, I've seen that one before.
Yeah, I mean, they grew up with me. Like, to be fair, like, the people who don't really know how the tricks are, my parents wouldn't have a clue how the tricks work. My dad's just like, what? He doesn't understand at all, which is so nice, you know. And no, I mean, I am saying that I suppose in the early days maybe they knew, but it's not like they're watching me practice all the time. I probably have it in my head that they know how a lot of the tricks are done when they don't, you know. Yeah, there's maybe 3 or 4 people who know how everything works, and that's because they would have done shows with me, like backstage. They would have been helping me set up and take down and stuff.
How are your parents like now that you've actually, you know, I feel like there would be a stage where, and again, I don't want to come across as patronising here, but you know, what's your son up to? Oh, he's doing magic. And it's like,
no, honestly, I used to
whereas
say
now
this to
you're
him
like
all the time.
Ulster
I'm
Hall.
so sorry, like that you have to have that conversation with my teachers in school. Like, can you imagine the careers advisor? Yeah, my son's gonna be a magician. Like, come on. And the thing is, there's not a very good track record here in Northern Ireland for like successful magicians. There's not really in terms of like in England, and by the way, there are here, but you just don't hear about them, you know. So my parents are always like, no, like we believe in Joel and we know that he works hard and he'll be all right, but teachers are like, okay, you know. And
it's amazing though that if you didn't have parents like that, how I say weird, how strange everything would have been for you. Because if you wanted to pursue that, you would never probably had the it's been like, look what you're doing now. It would have been no TV show, no book, no Ulster Hall.
It's quite sad. You see that with people all the time. They have so much talent. Like I know plenty of magicians who are 10 times more talented than me, but just don't have either the people around them or even the self-confidence to. Maybe they overthink it, you know what I mean? Maybe they're almost too smart for their own good, where they think of all the things that could go wrong rather than just giving it a whack. And that is sad to see, because there's some, I mean, even I don't really have anyone in mind here in Northern Ireland, but a few people I know in England who are just exceptional, and you're like, if you put your mind to that, you could do so much, you know. I suppose like you have to be careful when you're saying that to people, because there is obviously, for every one person that it does work out for, there's people it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like my teachers in school, a lot, like 90% of them would have been like, what are you doing? Some of them didn't, like, and the ones that I really liked didn't, but they're really saying that from a position of like, they probably do want to help you and not have your heart broken at like 27 when your dream falls apart, you know what I mean? So
probably have a stereotype too in their head. Like, I know personally, before like knowing what you do and all, I would have thought a magician is someone who goes to a kid's birthday party.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
So they probably had that sort of concept.
That was always me trying to dispel that from people, because I knew that, I mean, I suppose I did a kid's birthday party when I was a kid, but since then I haven't, and I always loved doing adult stuff. I always had friends that were older than me, and I've loved doing like those kind of big like, corporate things. I just like that, being around adults who are smart. There's nothing better than doing a magic show for people who are really smart and switched on. So I did a gig for like PwC there maybe a couple months ago, and that's the best type of crowd, because these people who are just like, they are just clever, you know what I mean? They're cleverer than me in every way.
A lot of ones I'd love to figure out their pin codes.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Swipe a few
that was a trick I stayed away from that night, just because I couldn't help myself. Like, they're so smart, and that's the thing is, when you're able to fool someone with a magic trick like that, that's more satisfying. Not because it makes you feel so smart, but because you know it's just so funny, the little simple things that'll fly by the smartest people. Doesn't mean that I'm smart, just means
I'm just imagining like a police interrogation room where it's like someone from PwC has had their bank account hacked, and it's like, do you know anybody who could have done this? Well, there was that wee magician fella in work the other day, and they're like, Joel, we know him. He's been in here a few times.
It's dodgy. Yeah, let's say no more, guys. We'll just cut all that. There's a guy who works in PwC, lives 2 doors down from me, so he'll be getting a shock when he gets back to the apartment later.
They're interrogating you, and they turn around again, and the cuffs are just lying on the table, and you're gone. We've caught him so many times, we just can't keep
That's
him.
one thing about those Now You See Me movies, which is so funny, is magicians are split on them. There's magicians who absolutely hate them, and then there's people like me who love them. I love them because I think it made magicians have to be better, in that you had to up the standard of material you're doing. Like, you know, you had to live up to this kind of Hollywood portrayal of what a new magician is. But then there was magicians who were lazy and who hated it, because suddenly, like, people are asking me all the time to do this stuff I can't do, and so there's that side of it, like, escape from these handcuffs, or you can't really just do that without a bit of prep.
You see, like the second one, have you seen it, where they like throw the card around that room? Is that real? Like, could that actually be done? Like,
Conceive it, not in a room full of people trying to find like a security chip. Probably not. But you could do
in
with
real,
cards.
Like, could you like bounce the card off the floor and all like that?
I don't know about that. You could do it, but you couldn't do it guaranteed 50 times in a row. I don't think. Maybe that's my own limited belief there. I certainly couldn't do it. I've never done the card throwing thing that much. What I used, well, this is years ago, but there's a deck of cards you can get called Banshees, and they're plastic and they have holes cut out, and they're just for throwing. Right. So when you throw them, they go extra hard and they go fast, and we used to just chuck them at each other. That was all we used it for. So no real skill, just volume of throws.
After this podcast is over, I'm going to get you to chuck a card. I want to see it, because I cannot tell you how many times I've wanted to know how to chuck a card and practiced it. Can never get it.
We'll do it, yeah.
He sits there every night in his room just like, fuck.
It wasn't too long ago. I think me and Lucinda were actually practicing it one night, and she was like, no, this is how you do it. And I was like, right, do it. And she done it, and it flopped. And I was like, really? Is it how you do it? Because
well, I have bad technique. I learned how to do it wrong, and I've just always stuck with this weird way of doing it. So I can teach people how to do it properly, but I do it a really weird way. So, and I think my way's better for beginners. So I'll teach you how to do it.
So if you are listening to this right now, we're going to do a video, and we will put it out on YouTube at probably some stage around this.
Probably like next week.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, no, this will be going out.
Yeah.
So it's a mess.
Just look at our
It's just a
YouTube
mess.
channel
It's just a
and you may
mess.
find a video of, I'm going to get you to, I'm going to hold a water bottle and I want you to hit the water
We're
bottle.
going to put the water bottle on your head.
I don't think so. I don't know if that's how far I want to
You got
go.
glasses, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, it's fine.
'Cause
I'm
if
gonna
you
make
can't-
sure
you
I
can't
my face.
put your eye
Can
on.
I turn round?
Oh,
So you can-
absolutely not. No way. No, you gotta.
Slice his neck open.
I feel like I am coming across very aggressive. We can do whatever you want, my friend. I will. Do you know what? Have you ever seen the guys who throw them and like slice watermelons and apples? I mean, that is
that's mad.
crazy.
Could you
do that,
crazy.
man?
I'm not that good.
What the heck, mate? Can you do that
I'll just-
with
I'll
his
just-
head? He's about to chuck a card at my dome, and you're like, "Can you slice a watermelon?"
Can you cut his ear off? Just one.
Just
Give him a wee trim.
something like, yeah.
Just for the cameras.
Just
like.
hurt him a little.
I do remember one time that it was like the ultimate trick shot. I could not believe it. Was there was a water bottle that was sitting. I was in the school music room back in school, and there was this water bottle sitting like literally, I suppose, like basically out there, like on that table there, and it was pure luck. Like it was not skill at all. And I just threw it without even looking, and it landed and it jammed stuff right under the bottle
way.
perfectly. And I was like,
I do this all the
and
time.
everyone was like, oh my goodness, do it again. I'm like,
Is that the moment?
No. I won't.
You
That
done
was
it and
my trick.
straight. What the book people were on? Yeah, we need you.
Yeah.
We just saw what you've just done.
I wish I'd filmed it. It would have been the best. I do feel sorry when you see these TikToks with these unbelievable trick shots people do and they don't go viral. I'm like, I know how long you spent doing that, you poor thing. And like,
Even those
give
guys
them a
doing
million
the-
views. Give them a million
Those
views.
guys doing the lives where they're throwing the cards and trying to get
Yeah.
fucking hell.
I used to do a bit of that, but like it wasn't throwing cards. I used to like I did the same with the deck of cards where you'd shoot cards. I'll show you where you would do it like you'd set a cup on the table, and this is gonna be hard now with freezing cold hands, but you would do it instead of tossing, you would hold like this and you'd try and shoot up in the air and catch it back into close. Say I do that.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Oh.
It takes practice. Like there we go.
Nice.
So we do it like that. You used to sit and do that one a lot, but it's not as dangerous as throwing cards at someone's neck, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna reset one of these cameras, and then we're gonna do a bit of magic.
Yeah,
we're gonna get
why
magical.
not?
We're gonna get
100%.
magical.
Let's do it.
Well, maybe wrap this up here.
If you
And
wanna
probably
see-
if you've been listening to this, probably go over to the YouTube channel to hear what the frig was going on there, because there was a lot of Joel just had things appearing out of Thomas's watch.
A lot of screaming.
Yeah.
Safe words.
Yeah, and
You
safe
did do a
words.
little scream, yeah. I like
Probably
that.
only thing they've heard for the past 10 minutes is pineapples. But yeah, listen, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh no, guys!
Yeah.
Thank you genuinely for having me. This has been most crack, so
Brilliant,
I
yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you very
And
much.
we'll maybe do, if you head over to the YouTube channel, if you are listening to this, you can see what's just happened and maybe some other stuff as well. But yeah, thank you so much for
100%,
coming on.
guys. Thank you so much, guys.
And
Thank
be sure to
you.
buy tickets for Joel's magician show and get blown away.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't even make money off it. It's I'll break even at best, so just come to show the moral support. Guys.